Okay, so Abhishek,
Right.
CaptureCX has customer experience on its name itself.
Correct.
So wanted to, kind of understand what are the adjustments you found to be effective for ensuring ethical personalization.
See, I mean, finding a perfect balance is actually difficult, right? So, in fact, as per the recent survey by Deloitte, at least 47% companies do not find the perfect balance. And to make sure that things are more simplified, the best approach would be first to be transparent, right? Whatever information is actually taken from the customer, you need to actually communicate that so that they are fine about giving those particular data points. That's one. Second is you need to make sure that there are certain anonymization that happens. That means that in each and every place, I do not want individuals' personal data. Like Kartik was mentioning, certain cohort of information is what I would want. So at that point of time, I should actually practice anonymization, which will help me build that cohort. That's second. Third, what I should also focus on is giving the consent, right? There should be consent taken from the customers. There are multiple places where the consent is actually not taken from the customer, and which later on is sold to other vendors, which becomes a bigger problem. That's the reason you get a lot of spam calls, right? And apart from that, there needs to be data minimization all put together. Whatever relevant data points is actually required, that is the only one that you need to be capturing it from the customers. The other information is actually not going to be relevant. So why do you capture those information and keep it with you? So you need to be very, very particular with this. And one thing that you need to make sure is there are regular audits that is happening that makes sure that the information is secure at a company's end, which will make sure that both the business houses and the end customers are relieved in these situations. Last but not the least, what I would emphasize is empower your customers, right? Educate them, tell them about what sort of information is actually going to be required. Then you'll realize that they would want to give in those pieces of information because at the end of the day, they would want relevant offers and recommendations because it's a mutual beneficial cooperation at the end of the day, right? Business houses earn and the customer gets what they want. So that's my submission in this particular topic.
So, Abhishek, another follow up to that,
Right.
because I see this happening a lot. Like, when getting consent from the customer, right? You make it so tedious for him that he doesn't know what he's sharing. One. Second, especially with the UX that people can play around, right? It's always a natural preference to go for the darker button, where you put the I share only specific data in the lighter button, and then move that share all the data in the to the darker button, and then unconsciously I've ended up
Right.
clicking, and then I'm like, oh, what did I do? So those kind of things have happened. So how do you kind of mitigate those things from a customer experience point of view, or what should companies probably do there?
See, that's where I emphasize a lot on transparency. That is where you're communicating those information. At the same time, what you need to do is educate the customers, right? When you educate the customers about what information that the customers are actually going to be sharing and what am I going to be doing with these pieces of information, then you'll realize that the trust factor actually increases, right? Then the end customers would start trusting. In fact, if you'd notice certain brands, where your customer retention is very, very high. Taking an example of, say, someone like Snowflakes, right? Snowflakes has an net recurring revenue, or say a repeat of around 165%, which is really, really high, in a SaaS industry. At the same time, Tatas are always known for getting a lot of repeat business. It is because of the way you try communicating it, at the same time educating your customer, right? So educating your customer actually helps, which I realize that many brands do not understand the importance of educating your customer. And that's something which would be really important to make sure that the business houses are growing with the help of these pieces of information.